Hello, you're listening to the G.O.A.T Pod. This is a podcast where we discuss the best-selling albums of all time. Hosted by Jason Purrier, Stephen Schott, Daniel Brown, and me, Jared Slusher. Now let's go ahead and dive into today's episode. Well, hello, everybody.
Well, hello there.
Hello.
Hi, Jared.
How
What
y'all
up, party people?
I'm doing all right. My throat's a little under the weather, but generally doing all right.
What about your nose, your eyes?
Need a little head congestion here and there, but doing all right.
Sorry to hear that.
That's what it is.
Dang, that sucks.
Well, listener, you may have guessed, but we're going to be talking about The Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. But before we get into that, I got one question for all of us here, and that is, what is one question about you that you wish people would ask?
Ooh, that's a good question.
It's a good question.
Thank you. Go with whoever has an answer first.
I mean,
I have a response to this.
go ahead, Dan.
The question that I wish people would ask more is, Daniel, are you a pilot? Because
Hey, Daniel, are you a pilot?
I am. I don't know if you, the listener, can read this. I hope not. You listening. But you, the viewer, I was able to show a certificate that said that I was able to do 30 minutes of ground instruction and 30 minutes of flight time. The first 30 minutes that would require or be required to get your pilot's license. Will I ever fly a plane again? Hopefully not.
But if you do,
I've heard
Katy
something.
Perry's an astronaut, I'm a pilot.
I've heard something.
You just need a bag.
to confirm this with me. I've heard it's really not about flying the plane that's the real issue. It's about the taking it off and the landing it. So did you do either of those?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
so if someone else starts and finishes, you can do the middle. That's all right.
Yeah.
I do. This does make me way more comfortable if I'm in a situation where both pilots in like a passenger airplane are knocked out and they're like, can someone land this plane? Maybe.
No.
You know what?
No. Still, answer
maybe?
still no.
With like
I'm worried now because
ATC talking to me, it's possible.
I feel like now you have a motive to take those pilots out.
Whoa.
I feel
You want
like-
to prove yourself like a big man.
I feel like Dan is
am I
more
gonna put on the
prepared.
no-fly list? Golly.
I feel like
Flew
you're
once, guys.
He's already on the no takeoff and no land lists.
That's every other civilian.
No, listen. He's on the list of, hey, pilots, if you want to take like a 30 to 45 minute nap, I got you.
Like 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Take it off of autopilot.
All right, Jason,
I
how
got
about you?
Well, I was going to say that the question I wish more people would ask me is, what is one question you wish more people would ask me? But I think...
And hey, Jason, what is one question you wish people would ask you?
you have to ask it with asking that... it's too meta. I would say
That wasn't even a full
my
sentence.
question would be, I wish more people would ask me what my favorite Olympic sport is.
Oh, do you have a certificate in that?
No, but somebody should ask me that.
Oh.
That's nice.
Steven, how about you?
Oh man. Jason, I just thought of this. I mean, what's your favorite Olympic sport? Like in terms of like, what's the one that you like the most?
Man, that's crazy. No one ever asked me that. So I'd have to go with curling. Ice curling.
Ooh.
That's my stuff.
All right.
Some people are like,
mixed doubles or teams.
All of the
or like,
above.
what do we?
All of the
okay,
above.
Doubles.
Okay.
I feel like the mixed doubles is fun just because you only have one sweeper and you
Sure.
have to trust like yourself on each throw. But teams mixed, I'm up for all of them. I think it's a really neat sport. Chess on ice, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jared, what's one question you wish you wish other people would ask you? And to that, I would say, I don't wish anyone anything, but I do wish they would ask me, what's something you've never told me but want to?
Jared,
Wow.
what's something you've never told me but want to?
I really like your hair. No,
Thank you.
I mean, I do like your hair. But no, I think that's a question that's good.
I feel like
'cause
you've
there's
told
sometimes,
him that. I feel like you've told him that.
Yeah, he knows. I wrote him a card. But there are some times where I'm hoping to tell someone something and then the conversation shifts and I'm like, oh man, this would have been really good to say 2 hours ago. And sometimes, those of you who know me,
Sure.
I'll just say it anyway.
Yeah,
But if I was asked that question, I could segue into it easier.
that's fair. That's a very practical question.
Thank you.
I respect it.
Not that Dan's wasn't practical. Dan is very practical in knowing how to keep a plane aloft for a moment.
Or stress about it for 25 minutes.
There's a solid 5 minutes of non-stress.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Stevie Wonder, how about you?
I thought you would forget. Let's see.
My question would be, probably one would be, why so serious? Or who do you think you are? Or will you marry me? One of those.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I'll ask you two of those three.
Okay, that's good. I look forward to getting married.
Wait a minute.
It's actually the one I can't ask you, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was about to say, I think Mrs. Jason would have some questions about that.
Just a few.
She'll understand.
Awesome.
I'm betrothed to a couple other dudes, so sorry, bud.
Anyway, moving on. So the reason we're here, Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd, we're in the top 5 best-selling albums now. So this one has sold 25.6 million certified copies, 45 million claimed sold copies. And a little bit of background on this album: was released March 1st, 1973, recorded spring of 1972 through the winter of 1973. Any guesses as to where this was recorded? It's also the name of another album.
I would have to guess it was our first, which would be Abbey Road Studios.
That is correct.
What can
Abbey
I say?
Studios? Abbey's Road? Abbey, that one?
And I think, I could be wrong, I think at this time it has been renamed to Abbey Road, or it could
That
still
was
be
what
EMI Studios.
My searching said that it had changed.
Cool. So within the 4 years of Abbey Road and Dark Side being released, they renamed it. So that's cool. This is the 8th album by Pink Floyd. Band members at this point are David Gilmour on guitars, vocals, and the synth, Nick Mason on the drums, percussion, and what I'm calling the tape FX, Roger Waters, bass, vocals, and also synth, and then Richard Wright on the organs, piano, and vocals. This was produced by Pink Floyd as well. And I think we've talked a little bit about this on The Wall, so you can listen to some of that background there. But essentially, Waters is the main lyricist for the band, at least at this point. And so he had the idea of a concept album, much like The Wall, about things that made people mad, also focusing on the band's lifestyle and also the mental health struggles of former singer Syd Barrett. And originally, the album was written to be performed on tour and actually debuted on tour a year before the album's release. So they had this album ready to go before they even hit the studio and were out performing it. So if you lived in the year 1972 and you saw them perform it, I am slightly jealous. And this was actually the first time that, if you have an album like I do in front of me, this is the 1975 Jacksonville one, in case you're interested.
Whoa.
Comes with lyrics printed on it. And this is the first time that happened, because this is the first time that everyone felt really confident at what Waters was writing. So that's pretty cool. Now we can get to look at those. And yeah, that's it for background. Daniel, can you hit us with that track listing?
Absolutely. Well, on the front side, or side one, or side A, or side one, we have Speak to Me, Breathe, parentheses in the air, On the Run, Time, a single, The Great Gig in the Sky featuring Claire Torrey on lead vocals. And then on side B or side two, Money, the single, Us and Them, Any Color with a U, You Like, Brain Damage, and Eclipse.
Yes, they are indeed British, and so color is with that extra U there. Awesome. So those are the songs we're going to be talking about. Steven, can you hit us with the lyrics and themes? What's going on? What's being written about?
one theme is money, and especially in the song "Money," and
Huh.
they don't seem to have a very favorable opinion of it, and it's the root of all evil. So that is definitely one of the themes, and more broadly, just sort of the society and the consumer hubbub of everything sort of dehumanizes you, and so that's seen in a lot of other songs. Being crazy is another theme, and brain damage. One of my favorite lyrics. There's someone in my head, and it's not me. Yeah, it's so simple, but it's like it blows your mind. Um, and then there's also a lot of things that are not lyrics and not music that they include in this
Yeah.
this album, where they're just sort of talking, and at one point he says, "I can't think of anything to say." So just the talking really,
Where do we
I
go
I
now?
don't like it sometimes, but sometimes it sort of adds like an ambient thing that I can dig. But I've got to be in the right mood. Usually, I like music to be in music. Um,
Sure, 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 sure.
but I mean, this album really like draws you in and kind of hypnotizes you. It's like an experience, not. So they're sort of setting a mood, a vibe with the soundscapes and everything.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting is each side is like its own continuous piece of music. Like
Yeah.
side one, those 5 tracks all go together, and then second side, all those songs go together. And if you stream it, it all kind of goes together, especially with the
Yeah.
heartbeats. Kind of like The Wall, there's a heartbeat at the beginning and end, and it loops back together. But if you just have the record like I do, then you hear part 1 and then part 2. And obviously, if you have like greatest hits, the songs like Time and Money, the 2 singles. But it's interesting to hear everything else that it goes with.
I was just gonna say the funny irony is how much they talk about greed and just like consumerism, and now we're talking about it in one of the most sold and like highest grossing albums of all time. Just a little bit of irony in that.
We hate it. We did benefit from it.
It's like this is how they survived and
Yeah.
everything. But I think it was still neat that like something that talks about that is also something that then on the flip side kind of does exactly what it's talking about in
Yeah.
an ironic way. Not what like
I would say it's the dark side.
exactly.
Oh, yeah. When it was, albums that did well spoke to what was important then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they could be countercultural and like receive from it.
Yeah.
All this talk of greed, all this talk against capitalism and money, money, it's a crime. Yeah, it's a crime. Yeah, I dig that. That's exactly what I'm thinking. But then they immediately follow up with share it fairly, but don't take a slice of my pie.
Yeah.
Like, little sarcasm there, a little bit of pettiness there.
Yeah.
And then you've got Time is just, oh gosh, when you get into the depths of some of these lyrics, you get why it grabbed a hold of nations in the 70s. Time has a couple of really good lines, and one of them that I'd like just held on to is hanging on in quiet desperation is the English way. I'm not English, but like you watch culture and you watch who they were speaking to and in the 70s. I mean, it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not a history major, but like that was Vietnam War time.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say.
Yeah.
And just hanging on in quiet desperation is the English way. Like you're speaking to yourself in that moment. For them, they were speaking to their countrymen. They were speaking to their brothers and fathers who are going off to war, who are suffering.
Yeah.
And like you can see it in the way that he writes some of these, why it hits.
Yeah. I think that's one thing to hit on too is this is, gosh, not quite 30 years after World War II.
Yeah.
And like that was, I mean, we call it World War.
Yeah.
Like that was so catastrophic, and it involved just about everybody almost. And so to have something where everyone's involved and everyone knows what they're fighting for, and then you've got the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Cold War,
Yeah.
and it's like still things that are being fought, but to hear an album like this, I know it's not Brothers in Arms where it's so like about one specific war,
Yeah.
one specific thing, but this is an album that, like you're saying, is fighting against that, or is countercultural in that aspect. Like, why are we doing this? Why are we
Yeah.
advocating for these kinds of things? Like, we are in a much better place than we were 30 years ago. So
Yeah.
why are we why are we doing what we're doing?
Well, and 50 years later, we're talking about the same stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we're
Yeah.
still discussing greed. Like if this album were to be released, like maybe some of like musical choices would be different
For sure.
given today, but if this poetry was released today, I think it would see a lot of the same success.
Yeah.
And not because of what they wrote about then, but because it still hits us today.
Yeah. Still poignant.
Even worse today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And war is still bad. So, war doesn't age well.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious looking at that's a crazy statement. Well, looking at some of the other themes that it hits on, like brain damage touches on mental illness. And even that is newer within the last couple of decades to really be talked about
Yeah.
and to really be treated and not just institutionalized.
Yeah. Yeah. And Sid Barrett, I don't think it's this one. I think it's the next album, Wish You Were Here. Sid Barrett just randomly showed up to the studio while they were recording. I don't think he participated in anything, but he just like showed up, hung out in a corner, and that was like the first and last time they saw him for a while. Like first time since he left the band, and then last time for like at least 20 years or so. And so just like the toll that touring and drugs had on him, they saw that this was their friend. And so not just writing about, oh man, these are some things that we see no one else is talking about that are important, but like they have a face and a name that these lyrics correspond to. And so that's another thing to consider as well. Like I think it's easy for us, especially as Americans in the 21st century, to say, okay, this is my life. This is the box I am in. And anything that affects that, like I'm going to fight against. But then it's another thing to say someone else is suffering, or this group of people is suffering, and I want to do something about it. What can I do? Is a totally different stature.
Yeah.
If no one else has anything on lyrics and themes, let's move on to some musical nidities or even hot takes, if we've got any.
Yeah, I think I have a medium warm take, so I'll wait on that one. I think
simmer.
just on a neat thing, your recording process, especially when you talk about Pink Floyd, the way in which they record things and the sounds and the effects and stuff that they added, especially in the time that they added them, it's really neat. But I just thought I'd notice this one fun thing is that they were fairly revolutionary in using a 16-track recording system.
Yeah.
To explain how crazy that 16 tracks was slightly revolutionary, right now on anybody's iPhone, you are limited to 32 tracks. Your regular GarageBand on anybody's Apple device, like computer, can run up to 255 tracks.
Wow.
Logic generally runs 256, so you get that one extra track,
You need it.
But then on your Pro Tools Ultimate, you can right now run up to 2,048 voices or audio tracks.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh.
So the fact that they were able to do as much and as like complex and the layering that they were able to do using 16-track recording systems is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really neat. I think my medium take, I don't know if this may not even be a take. Every time I say that, it always becomes much more of a take. I felt like they kind of slow played it for the first half. Side one, I felt like was just kind of like, is all right. Side two was burning. Like you start off with money and you're cooking all the way through. And I'm not just talking like tempo wise. And some of it may just be how little vocals they used in the first half.
Yes.
The first track itself being essentially just the heartbeat. And taking up as much time as it did. I think it was neat for the storyline. They're so well known for their concept albums, and this being one of their earliest in that genre of using concept albums the way that they do. But it was like, man, we had a lot of stuff of not a lot happening, and then the back half really burning with a ton of text, a ton of movement, even in its instrumental tracks. So if anything, I would have just wished the front half had a little bit more happening. But that was my. I still don't think that's a hot take. It's definitely something you can disagree with, but that's where I got.
Yeah. I didn't mind the long sort of introduction to the album. I mean, at a certain point, I was like, okay, let's get moving. But I liked it in the sense that, like you said, like for a concept album, it sort of adds to the ambiance and everything, and it draws you in. But and then it goes straight into it. After that, and it comes out really big. But it's definitely not something I would put like on a playlist or something. If it came on a playlist, I would get mad every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would take it off your liked songs.
Yeah.
It is interesting. The first half of the album, like only 3 songs on that first half have vocals, but only 2 of those 3 songs have words have lyrics. It's a very interesting thing that threw me off the first time I listened to it. So yeah, that is definitely interesting. Anything else on the musicality?
Well, it was like brilliantly written, I think, to convey the message that they wanted to convey. Some of the music choices like leaned into the tension and the pressure of its time. Like Time's one of them. But when you look at Money, and you're looking at this idea of greed and whatnot, the groove that comes out of it is one of the exemplifying pieces of how counter humane they viewed money and the greed behind it. It comes out in this with the cash register and the ding and this, is it a bass line I'm imagining here that's like in 7/4, which is not a typical time signature.
Yeah. Tell us about 7/4. What does that mean?
So functionally, whenever we're looking at music, you have your bottom note is explaining what type of note is getting the beat. So if you have a 4 on the bottom, just assume it like a quarter. Just assume 1 over top. So if the number on the bottom were 8, it'd be an eighth. If the number on the bottom were 2, it's a half note. And then your top number is just telling you how many of those notes are going to be in there. So 6/8, you would have 6/8 notes, but generally you look at it in 2 dotted quarters. So in this situation, we would have 7 quarter notes making up 1 measure of time.
And that's not normal.
because of the way that it like rhythms out, the way that you feel it, it's never consistent.
Yeah, it's
Like,
always
it's
kind of
consistent.
pulling you forward.
Yeah, it's consistent in its measures, but it's not consistent in its feel. Like when you have 6/8, you always are going to have 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. But here you're going to either have 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. And I
gotcha.
messed up some of the timing of the rhythm there, but the idea behind it is, like Jason said, it's always pushing forward.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a what they would call non-symmetrical meter. And so instead of always hitting down, it's kind of a usually your sevens, you have combinations of twos and threes, so you'd be like 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3, and so it kind of gives this kind of like falling forward in every single measure.
That's right.
That's interesting. That seems like it would be a hard rhythm to just sort of fall into and sort of like, just like if it's 4/4, it's easy to just sort of get hypnotized by it. But this, you never can really get complacent. And one of the thoughts I had when I was listening to this is, like I could never really predict where it was going to go, which is not true with a lot of pop music. But and especially, I didn't know where it was going to go, and then when it did go somewhere, I liked where it went. So it's and it kept like consistently doing that, and I think maybe the time signature could have something to do with that, because 4/4 is easier to sort of fall into and predict. But
I think if you think of 4/4 and your 6/8 as things with pockets, things that you can kind of rest back into. Essentially, if you remember, anytime you go on to a like roller coaster and you have that down, up, and then at the top you kind of have this kind of weightless feeling. You get that essentially every single measure, because you're 1 2 1 2, and then down again. Wow. So you kind of have that lull and hit every single measure.
Weightless. That's very thematic.
Yeah. I think it's also neat, and you get some of this in the recording as well. I can't remember, one of their guys talks about that they very rarely would use dynamic microphones, and they would usually use condenser microphones. The reason being, your dynamic is when you see somebody with a handheld mic, that's your dynamic. Most of what we're recording with on our ends are different types of condenser microphones. And the reasoning that they would not go with the dynamic is a lot of dynamics leave a lot of the high end and a lot of the like harsher notes, where you have a much more muted sound when you use condensers. And so when they were trying to make their kind of atmospheric feel, they didn't want those harsh tones in the recording. So they would even record vocals at like literally anything they could record, they would use a condenser to mellow out the sound a bit.
Gotcha.
I was on a road trip with our buddy Andrew last week, and I said, part of this road trip, I just got to listen to this album through my car. Because I've listened to it through these headphones on my computer. I've listened to this album through some noise canceling headphones that actually I'd have to do some research. I think they give a different level of frequency, because I was hearing different things, and maybe it was just also on like focus. But through the car, you hear more of this atmosphere that they're trying to create. You hear more of this ethereal that they're trying to maintain, and even. I was telling Andrew, I said, well, this album's not grabbing me like other albums have. And this album's like, there's so much instrumental that it's like, some of it's losing me at different points. And he goes, well, you got to think about when they wrote this. You got to think about when they recorded this, that thematically, they probably were taking a lot of inspiration from the space race.
Oh yeah,
and they were probably taking a lot of inspiration, because this is early 70s.
73.
They were probably taking a lot of inspiration from moon landings.
And
you're taking that day's themes, that day's struggles, that day's problems, and you have that in the lyrics, and then you're taking that day's excitement. I'm extrapolating a little bit on what he said, but like it makes sense.
He said all of this.
Yeah. Kudos to Andrew. But he was the one that like actually got me to kind of really listen to the rest of it, and was like, oh, I see why this is the way that it is now.
Yeah.
I think there's also noticing the height of the Cold War. And that might have been why kind of that start is so slow, is this kind of like, something's going to come, but it's just not there yet. And it's just like sitting in that tension for a long time until you flip the album, and then it's like, poof, right in. So I could definitely see where that would fit in kind of that space race looking to the stars, Cold War, nothing's happening, but everybody's tense, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And we're already kind of in highlights, but piggybacking off of that and also Money, this is a band that you can tell they know how to play together and jam and give each other the space that they need to play whatever they feel like playing. And I think part of that also comes across in the soundscapes that they have. So like Time or Money, let's use Money. Like you do have a guitar solo in there, but you also have that, I think it's like that cash register, like ding in the background, and like obviously the beginning. But there's so many noises throughout the song that either I think it's is it Richard or Nick Mason who's doing the tape effects. Like putting the sounds together, not just haphazardly, although probably haphazardly some here and there, but like it has its own space where it's not distracting from the song. It goes on with the song, and that takes a tremendous amount of skill.
Well, so much of the placement seems on purpose.
Yeah.
Right? I like maybe some of the exploration of these sounds was haphazard, but by the time it got to recording, it's on purpose.
Yeah. I think I was watching, I want to say it's the VH1 classic albums documentary, which I love finding those when they have it on an album we're talking about. But Gilmour had this sequencer, and he just played a random set of notes, and it happened to be the exact set of notes that's on the Run. And and it's going at like 64. It's like 64th notes. Like he played the right progression to get that sound. And it's just like, how do you, like, obviously you can't reproduce that in real life. You have to have a digital thing to do that. But it's interesting to see, this is where this is going to go. It has a place. It sounds cool. And so we're going to find a place to put it. Yeah. And this is where it logically goes.
One thing that I wanted to mention is the vocals on this album seem way better than on The Wall. And sometimes it seemed I didn't even recognize who was singing. There's a part where they're not like saying any lyrics, it's just a bunch of like vocalizations, but they're like, if someone's like belting out these notes in the song, and I was like, I thought it was Beyonce or something on the album, but then I don't think she was pretty young then. I don't know when she was born, but yeah,
I don't think she was born.
Yeah, well, not with that attitude, but but I was like super impressed, just like technically how good it was. Like I've always liked hearing their vocals, just how it comes off like emotionally and all that stuff, but like it sounded like someone was taking lessons.
So I'll say for this one, the primary vocalist is Gilmour. Waters only does the last two songs, Brain Damage and Eclipse. And then Claire Torrey, we talked about, does the Great Gig in the Sky.
That's the one,
or the scat one. Yeah, so that's either the first or only Pink Floyd song that a non-member of the band is the lead vocalist on. So, and they have some background vocalists here and there, but those are the three primary vocalists. And so The Wall primarily had Waters with Gilmour here and there, and this one is both like half the size and flipped to where Waters only does the vocals at the end. All right, let's dive into the Waters of least favorites.
One last highlight. So sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Like, really, listeners, if you've not listened to this album yet, or if you've listened to it on Spotify, if you have the time, listen to it first 5 and then second 5. Like really allow yourself to kind of break that up, because it makes more sense that way. Though, at least for me, the way that I listened to it.
No, it does.
And listen with headphones.
Headphones is super important for that. Like out of a phone, meh. Through a car, really good, in my opinion, in my experience. But yeah, the tail end of Great Gig in the Sky just hits so differently if you treat it as the ending of something and not the halfway point. Like it is the halfway point, but like as a finale type deal.
Yeah. I give this the same level as Abbey Road and Sgt. Pepper's and a few of the others. Like,
Yes,
absolutely, listen to it in your car, listen to it from speakers. But if you need to buy a pair, go get a really nice set of headphones and listen to it, because that will make the difference.
If you contact us, we will buy you a pair.
Give you an affiliate link.
We will not buy you.
Jason's
We'll buy
email.
you personally.
Nope. I will. No
Use
sponsor.
code GOATPOD.
No sponsorship, but I will suggest if you get corded, Audio Technica has really, really solid stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, super good.
And if you get wireless noise canceling, I'm a big Sony fan. Bose has the best,
Sennheiser's good too.
objectively.
Yeah.
But for wireless noise canceling, I think Sony gives you about the best bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of objective, what are our least favorites? And we'll start with Jason.
I'm so glad because I'm going to start off at the top. Speak to Me. It's just short.
Didn't speak
It's
to
a
you.
heartbeat. As a track, it's what it is. It works for what it's doing. But as a track, I got to go least favorite.
For sure. Beans.
I would say Speak to Me as well, or the second one, Breathe. But honestly, I liked all of the songs, and they were all really good.
Words.
Yeah.
Dan.
Speak to Me. Didn't speak to me. Yeah. Like intros are my thing. It's not it.
For sure. Yeah. And I am right there with y'all. Speak to Me would be the one I like the least. So now we're going to flip over to our favorites. This is really what you came here for. We're going to start with Dan.
Oh, interesting. This one was difficult for me. Because I think some of the uniqueness of this album is in some of its intros. And when you've got time and when you've got money, those both have such wacky intros, but once they like get into it, it's such a vibe.
Yeah.
I got to go with Money. I'm so sorry, Jason. I got to go with Money.
Yeah, the bass line on that song
It's
was
cash,
really
dude.
sick.
My second favorite is
Yeah.
not going to be one that anybody else is going to pick, so I'm down with that.
Okay. Steven.
My favorite was Brain Damage.
Okay. Dan
I-
Bramage.
Nice.
Yeah, I liked its vibes. I like psychology, and this one, it was about mental illness in a lot of ways, but it was also about how it's hard to not be some degree of mentally ill in society. Just how it's
True.
everything's set up. So it was very profound, and it was groovy, and it was about psychology. So it was my favorite.
All right. Would you include Eclipse as part of that or just Brain Damage? Because the two they do go together.
Yeah. Like after 2 songs listening to this album, I had to go on Spotify and turn off the I turned on gapless play because it just kept on stuttering. So, but after I turned that on, I couldn't tell like the difference between any of the songs. But I would say I would not include Eclipse in that.
Okay.
But
Interessante.
those 2 songs can, thematically, I think the whole album does, but those 2 songs especially.
Yeah.
I read somewhere
interesting.
the Dark Side of the Moon also can be seen as like the unconscious and the dark parts of human nature.
Ooh,
So
I like
the
it.
Eclipse takes on a different meaning if you think about it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well, Jarrett, what's your favorite?
Well, I was actually going to go to Jason next.
Oh,
Well, I guess I'll go. Even as much as I've been hating on the instrumentals today, back half, Any Color You Like. That was my favorite.
okay.
I thought it was just a vibe. I could roll with it.
any color you like.
Man, this just got 2008.
This did just get 2008.
So 2000 and
So
late.
2000
that's what I was-
yeah.
All right. Yeah. So my favorite, I've got to make sure this gets the list. I'm going to go with Time.
Ooh.
I feel like if time and money don't make this list, then we've done something wrong.
I'm kind of intrigued that Great Gig in the Sky didn't make the list, but like, you know.
There's only four
Sorry,
of us.
Claire.
It's called Any Color You Like, not any list you like, Dan.
True that. True that.
I look, just observing.
Now, the even funner part is ranking this
gosh.
album.
Oh, yeah. Put it up there.
The even
Put it on the
most
board.
funnest part.
And so, as always, well, not as always, we
That's right now.
we know where the wall is for me, so I think it's fitting that I go last.
Oh gosh.
No, I think that means you have to go first.
That sounds
No,
good to
it's-
me.
I think,
think,
Jared should go last because that's
Get the bad
I'm
takes
really
out of the way
interested.
first.
We're going to start with Steven because I'm really interested to see where he puts this against the wall.
I think I'm gonna put it right freaking on top of the wall.
Oh, number one.
Number
Whoa.
one. Yeah, it's I was listening to it and I was like, I can't believe what's happening to my ears right now. And it's been out, since the 70s, and I've never listened to it. I've seen the T-shirts, but yeah, this
was your first time.
yeah. I did recognize some of like one or two of the songs on when I was listening through it, but yeah, it was the first time I heard a lot of these songs. So yeah, I was very impressed.
Awesome. Wow. That's
Yeah, no pressure for you, Jarrett, to put it up high, but
man. All right. So let's go to Jason next.
Well, I wish you hadn't, but I'm going to go next. I think I have to go just above Saturday Night Fever, but below Rumors.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
My main argument is that I can't put it above Rumors, and it's definitely not worse than Saturday Night Fever, so it's got to go right.
Fair enough.
Man. So that is your number 10. That's still top 10.
Top 10.
All right.
Top 5 in the hearts of the people. Top 10 in mine.
Okay. Dan, where are you putting this?
I don't know. There's
I'd say somewhere between 1 and the end.
for sure. I'd even say one in what? It's top 15 for me. I'm like really trying to narrow it down here.
You too are above Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how I think about it in relation to Supernatural is where I'm at.
ooh,
And I think I got to put this at number 8 above Hotel California
Wow.
and below Supernatural.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jarrett.
So, listener, in case you haven't been following the podcast and this is your first episode, we did The Wall as episode number 4. And so, as you can see on the screen, if you're watching this, it is my least favorite album. And so, I've been telling the boys, I think actually everyone except Jason, Steven, I told it was in the top 20. Dan, I think I said it was in the top 15 or top 10.
yeah.
It is indeed in the top 15, top 20, top 10. It's actually in the top 5.
Whoa.
And not only is it in the top 5, it's
No
in the
way.
top 3.
Oh,
No
snap.
way.
And it's my number
Someone
1.
scroll up. I
No
can't see his
way!
list. Scroll up. I can't see his list.
what a M. Night Shyamalan twist! That's crazy,
I'm trying to remember what your number 2 was. Was it Rumors? It was Rumors.
It was
wasn't
Rumors.
dude. So the wall is at the bottom, and the dark side of the moon is at the top. That's
Yeah, I am bookended by Pink
That's-
Floyd.
Bonkers,
Wow.
dude.
And
that's very
here's
symmetrical.
here's
You're
here's
gonna
where
need
it
to
came
explain.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first listen, I knew, okay, this is top 10 for me, but where does it go? So then it became an issue of, as an album, this to me is cohesive, and there's nothing at first, second, third listen I would take away. So then moved it to the top 5. And I was like, it's got to go above Bad. So it's definitely top 5. So then it became, do I like this more or think of this better as a unit than any of these 4 above it?
Interesting.
And I didn't listen to Sgt. Pepper, but I've been listening to that for like over 10 years at this point. So I'm very familiar with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I listened to Rumors and Led Zepp, and I was like, there are some sequencing issues. I think there's a little bit of dip in how those are sequenced. And I didn't have that other than Speak to Me, which again is the intro. It works as what it is. And so I'm like, this has to be number 1 and it can't be anything else.
Wow.
That's,
well, that, man,
I feel like,
that puts our list in such a unique spot.
I feel like that was a redemption arc for you, Jarrett. Started off with The Wall. That was rock bottom, you know.
Yeah.
And now we're here, so that's good.
Yeah.
Well, so to give you guys that are listening an idea of what we're looking at here, we do not have a top 10. We don't have a 10th. We don't have a 9th. We have a 3-way tie for 8th.
Oh my gosh.
With Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, Metallica, the Black Album, and Bat Out of Hell. At number
That's a
7,
good set of 8.
it is a good set of 8.
Yeah.
At number 7 is Hotel California. Tied for number 5 is Rumors and Bad. At number 4 is 21. Making its debut on the list at number 3 is Dark Side of the Moon.
Nice.
Number 2, Abbey Road. Number 1, Led Zeppelin 4. Unreal.
All right.
Wow,
Well,
wow.
I think at this point I can then say, for those listening at home, an episode or 2 ago, I said that there were 2 albums that I think have a chance of topping our number 1 at Led Zeppelin 4. This was one of them. So we have now proven that it has not.
Yeah.
So far.
Though it is top 2 people's lists. I guess I'm technically the down puller here.
You're the outlier.
It's like the opposite.
Well,
of
no,
the
because you're an 8,
self-fulfilling
so it's
prophecy.
not an outlier. It's not statistically significant enough of an outlier, but nonetheless, there's one more album of our final 4 that I think could do it. But it is up to you, the listeners, to figure out what I think.
And it could happen. It very well could happen that
It could happen.
Led Zeppelin
We've got
4
some crazy albums
gets knocked
coming up.
off. Yeah.
Well, the next one, tell the people, Jarrett, what do we got next?
Yeah. So our next album is going to be the Bodyguard soundtrack, which is done primarily by Whitney Houston. And if you're unfamiliar with that movie, it is starring Whitney Houston and our guy, Bruce Willis. Yeah. Die Hard himself.
The Die Hard.
Yeah.
Does he sing on the album?
He does not sing on the album, but he does have his own album. And I've talked about that before in the podcast.
Yep.
So, Steven, what do you think about Whitney Houston?
I've never met her, but I hope she's doing well.
Fair enough.
And it doesn't seem like she's come out with anything in a while. So, but yeah, she seems like a pretty cool person.
Well,
Thank you, Steven. That concludes this episode of the G.O.A.T Pod. If you enjoyed this or didn't, feel free to let us know by emailing us at thegoatpodemail@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram at thegoat_pod. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time.